Who has the ability to play like Sexton? That is the question. Fiona Coghlan, how are you?
Hi, morning, how's things?
Where are we at with our out half situation now? It just gets clearly we need Sexton to turn 37 this week. The waters afterwards just seem more muddy than ever.
Yeah, it is. I think it's obviously unfortunate for Harry Byrne to go there and not get any game time from home with injury. Frawley's certainly taken his opportunity, particularly this week. The first game it was a little bit murky, but that was only his second start at 10. So then this was his third start. So he certainly improved immensely in that 12-day turnaround. And that just, I suppose, will give the coaches kind of confidence in that they have a player that can improve and where can he go to. But I think it is key to him getting game time this season and how's it going to look like at Leinster, because obviously he would be fourth choice 10 at Leinster with Ross and Harry Byrne and Sexton obviously ahead of him. So it's about getting him that game time. And I was listening there and about the versatility. I think having versatility is great and in lots of areas around the pitch, the back three, the centres and stuff. But I think at 10, I think you need to nail down that position. I think Frawley spoke, he doesn't want to be jack of all, master of none. And I think it's really important that they're going to focus on him as 10 at international level, that he has to play 10.
Is he a real candidate now? Because I find this out half things fascinating. You know, you look at the heir to the throne in various roles of life, and it's quite obvious. It couldn't be less obvious in the Ireland situation, and our reliance on Sexton is so pronounced. That's fine, but how does the coaching staff? Is it organic where it decides, right, this is our guy to go for? Because you're literally talking about 4 or 5 individuals here who could get that job.
Listen, I think they've put time into some players that haven't fronted up and delivered. We've seen the likes of Carthy, Billy Burns, Harry Byrne's been in there. Obviously Carberry has come back to the form that we kind of expected him to come back to, and whether his best position is actually 15, I think it possibly is. And that now Frawley is stepping into this, but it's a matter of giving him that game time. I suppose a lot of them probably through injury haven't had a lot of consistency in game time at the highest level. And look, we have to give him, there's no one going to match Johnny or get near him in the next year, but we need to get game time into some of them so that they're ready to go, hopefully not injury to Johnny, that he doesn't have to play 5 games on the bench in the World Cup if you're looking to get to a World Cup final.
What have you made of the tour so far? So, I suppose, what are we talking about? A week ago, this could be a 0 from 5, the way Ireland were going. Obviously, a lot of disappointment after the first test, and I mean, 3 or 4 days is a long time in rugby.
Oh, look, it's a hugely successful tour now. Going into this, I didn't know what we were going to come out with. I was thinking one win would be a successful tour, but I think the improvement in both teams, the test team and the midweek team, in a short space of time was unbelievable, and just the work that the coaches had to put in to get 2 teams ready for high level ball is really impressive. And then some of those players really putting their best foot forward and putting they could be in contention for test spot places, but I think that Andy Farrell will stick the team that he had as much as possible. Obviously there's injury to Gary Ringrose, so that'll be someone slotting in, whether Finlay Beelan will be able to make the bench or not, someone might slot in there. But the likes of Coombs, Timoney, Treadwell and Frawley, definitely put their name up there and will be in the conversation, but I just don't think it's going to happen this week. But yeah, hugely successful tour now, regardless of what happens this weekend, but they'll certainly look to want to go one better.
How impressive is Andy Farrell? Because he just exudes this kind of calmness, even when things aren't necessarily going well. It's been it's been very successful since he took over, but he's never far off scrutiny as well. But he just seems to. That response in the second test was quite stark, and obviously the players completely believe in what they're doing.
Look, we were all slating him in media for the first, year and a bit, and the players had full confidence in him then. Johnny had spoken a lot then about things were coming together. They were confident in the way they were playing, but we just couldn't see it on the pitch, and then suddenly things clicked and they were getting those performances, and he seems to have real confident players and puts his faith in them. If you look at the likes of James Lowe, who's been slated for his defensive performances, Andy Farrell takes him, does work with him, and he comes even stronger. Jameson Gibson-Park was second string at Leinster. Andy Farrell sees something in him, puts his confidence in him, and he repays it in full faith. And I think when you hear the likes of Elsie and Peter Manning talking about how good the camp is, how good the environment is, how they're supporting the midweek team and they're all in together, you don't say that for no reason. Like, you don't fake it. You just say nothing. So I truly believe that there is a really good vibe in camp, and they're all getting on and they're all working towards the same thing. And, you know, even Craig Casey at the weekend, you know, delighted obviously with the Maori win and the way it was going, but not hiding from the fact that he wants to be in that team as well and not afraid to say it. You know, just there's real good, healthy competition there, I think.
I've heard Derek McNamara come in and kind of crunch the stats on it. Like, what's happening with the All Blacks from your perspective? Because I guess that the invincibility thing is more of a veneer at this stage, and now they're facing a potential loss in this test 2-1, which I think a lot of Irish fans are expecting at this stage. What's happened with the All Blacks?
In some ways, they probably don't have the players that they had years ago when we were looking at their invincibility in the last kind of year. I think when they came up in the autumn to Ireland, we were talking about them being fatigued at the end of the season, but that's clearly not the case now. It's the start of their season, and it just look like they're not connected. You know, they've had injuries in their centres. They probably wouldn't be the starting centres. Whitelock is such a leader in that pack, and him not being there for that second test was huge. So I'll be interested to see if he makes it back this week, what difference he makes to the pack. But yeah, like there doesn't seem confidence and that kind of in their coaching team, and there's obviously a lot of rumours about Foster, and the media and the public aren't happy with him as coach, and that kind of could filter into the squad as well. And so look, they talk about a backlash this week, looking at some of the New Zealand media, do or die, and heads will roll if they don't win. So there's definitely a huge amount of pressure on this New Zealand team to perform.
Yeah, we've spoken about the 2 All-Ireland finals today. Galway, Nathan would say it's a bit of a free hit, would tend to agree. Limerick are obviously overwhelming favourites. If you look at this test, Ireland are like, okay, if we do lose, we've still won in New Zealand, we've created history. All of the pressure's on the Kiwis there, surely.
Yeah, it's huge, and I feel it from obviously the media coverage over there, but also around the fans, around demanding more and wanting results and wanting wins, just from historically where this team were. And I think the manner in which Ireland have performed, particularly in the second test, I don't think they were as far off as the scoreline in the first test kind of probably showed. I think they were Ireland were closer, but just that improvement in a week and being that little more accurate. New Zealand are very dangerous with like line breaks and one-off tries, whereas Ireland just seem to be more cohesive in their playing, and I don't think New Zealand have that.
Yeah, it was mad watching the documentary on RT last year, Where's Your Pride, about that Irish team in the early 80s, what they did for the country at a time when it was really, really badly needed. Completely different scenario now. Ireland's a different place, but these guys are going to go down in history. I mean, do you think they're aware of what they're actually doing for Irish rugby in New Zealand?
I think they are now, and I think Paul O'Connell brought a few of the second rows together saying, look, you're the first, this is how important this is. And like, it's huge. It's getting that monkey off the back and having that confidence that you can go and beat anyone. And look, we knew they could this Irish team could beat anyone on the day. To go away and do it in really hostile conditions, when you've had a couple of injuries, you've not a huge squad to be able to go and field games back to back. I think they will, and as I said, the improvement in a short space of time was really impressive, and like, credit to the coaches and the players to be able to turn that around.
You sound fairly confident.
Look, I think you're always wary of New Zealand. I think Ireland, the way they're playing, if they can win that set piece ball and they can get into their shape, I think they're the better team. Like, New Zealand still have very good internationals that can turn it. The likes of Will Jordan can score out of nowhere, but I think as a team goes, Ireland are a better team. But it's important that everyone performs. You know, obviously there's a lot of talk of Sexton, and when he went off in the first test, that we didn't step up and we didn't perform after those 20 minutes. I think it's really important that everyone performs, regardless if Sexton's there or not. So we need to win our set piece ball. We need to have that speed of ruck ball, which is hugely important to the way we play. And look, if we get that, I think we can match anyone on our day.
Two last points. Love the red brick interior behind you. Massive fan. Getting a nod from Colm, our producer here. Everyone's actually agreeing. Big fans. Forget about all your endless TV shows on RT about home improvement, all that nonsense. Just look at Fiona's gaff. And finally, you won an intermediate All-Ireland Gaelic football with Clontarf, I believe. So who wins, Galway or Kerry?
Oh God, Jesus. I think Kerry. I thought into that match against Dublin, I had Kerry down as favourites. Even being a dub, that was a tough thing to say, but yeah, I think Kerry. But All Ireland finals, it's those one-off games. Who rises to the occasion, the pressure. I just think Kerry probably might deal with the pressure a little bit better. But I genuinely, I don't know. I'll be excited to watch it though.
Before all of that, enjoy this weekend, Fiona.
Thanks, Gillian.
Yeah, that was Fiona Coghlan. Looking forward to the final test between Ireland and New Zealand. Yeah, as